I am the world's biggest procrastinator. I don't work that much. Of course, as an entrepreneur, you know, our brains never stop. But as far as like actual day to day, I'm literally working from morning to night.
This is cool because everybody operates so different. We're talking about morning routines. Normally, you would see them wake up at freaking 5 a.m., get up and get into a cold plunge, then meditate for 5 minutes. And then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock and you're actually starting your day. I don't do that at all.
The biggest mistake that new or experienced investors make is they data dump. They come at you with too much information. I still don't know your target market. I don't know who your team is comprised of. I don't know your track record. So there is a strategy.
Well, let's talk about the misconceptions of private money then. I know a lot of people think that private money is like hard to get. What are some of the myths that you hear out there? I think this stuff right here is the real stuff that a lot of people don't necessarily always talk about.
My word of the year, for the first time ever, I guess. You heard it here first, folks.
Welcome to the JV Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Vasquez. What is up, my beautiful friends? Welcome back to another episode of the JV Pod. And just so you're watching this on YouTube, I have a podcast. It's called the JV Pod. I share it here on this channel because I definitely want you guys to check it out. And I also want you guys to gather the information that comes out of this. This podcast is all about people who want to build something successful for themselves. They might not have the mindset to get there, but I'm here to teach you guys ways that I've been able to build a multi-million-dollar career. And we get to listen to other people who maybe have their backs against the wall, just like you, and are still able to create these great opportunities for themselves. So hopefully you're able to check out my podcast. Go look at Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to music at. That's exactly where this podcast will be. And today's episode is freaking amazing. It's with my good friend, Amy Mahjoory, who's a private money lender. And she teaches people how to do this. And one of the best things about this conversation, which I know you guys are going to love, by the way, she goes into detail. We talk about what it actually takes to build a successful business and who we have to shed in order to become the person that is going to allow us to give us the freedom and the skill set to build these businesses. But most importantly, we talk about the things that are so difficult that a lot of us that are either new getting into real estate or business in general might not have the right mindset. You might not have the right people around you that are encouraging you. You might not be able to have money. You might not have the cash to be able to invest in things. We talk about all those really important things that I feel like so many people get stuck on when they're getting involved with any type of business or real estate investing or whatever it may be. So check this episode out. We go into so much detail and just know for a fact you guys are going to love this conversation. And if you could do me a huge solid, like and subscribe to this page, you being able to give me that solid of just the like and subscribe allows me to get people like Amy and maybe some other people onto this platform that will allow me to connect with them. And unless I grow this audience and all this stuff, it's hard to actually do that. Podcasts are one of the difficult things to grow. So go follow me on Spotify, leave a review, and like and subscribe to this page. Hopefully you do that. But yes, let's jump into this podcast right now with Amy Mahjoory. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the JV Pod. I just seem super, Amy, I seem like I know exactly what I'm doing because there was just a countdown for those of you that are not watching this. And I was talking to her and all of a sudden on zero, I was like, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the JV Pod. Isn't it funny how people in this space are like that? It's like you could just have a conversation, all of a sudden, boom, you're just like,
Right.
really not somebody different, but just like your voice and your cadence becomes more of the kind of person that you want to be perceived as in a way. And
You
this
gotta serve.
isn't it weird, Amy, how that works? But also, I think we just talked about this earlier, and I love this because we were talking about morning routines and all this stuff, and we talked about how successful people that normally you would see them wake up at freaking 5 a.m. and get up and get into a cold plunge, then meditate for 5 minutes, do push-ups upside down, and then go and journal. And then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock and you're actually starting your day. I don't do that at all. And Amy has I'm talking for you now, Amy. Your new 2025 plan is just get up, go pee, and do work. Is that it?
It's just do it. Everyone who knows me knows I'm all about efficiency, being streamlined. I always say, just do it, just do it, just do it. No excuses. And I was telling you earlier, I am the world's biggest procrastinator. Now, even though I'm 46, my mom would be so mad at me if she heard me right now telling you that I don't work that much. Of course, as an entrepreneur, you know, our brains never stop, right? It's hard to shut off my brain. But as far as like actual day to day, like managing teams, operations, whatever, it's maybe 20 hours a week, but because I am so unorganized and the world's biggest procrastinator, I'm literally working from morning to night. So I was showing Jesse earlier, this is me getting organized, you guys, an old school legal pad. day 9 of the new year, but it's working so far.
Yeah, I love it. And this is cool because I think a lot of times you get to peek behind the curtain. And you and I get to do this with people that we see, like, the Pace Marbies of the world, the Cody Sanchez of the world, and everybody operates so different. And the crazy thing about this, Amy, is that most of these people that we see on the internet, like everybody's pretty close to the same in a lot of ways. The routines might be a little bit different, especially morning routines, but I'll be the first one. I'm a procrastinator to the 10th degree. I've always been like that. I've always wanted to be different. I've always tried to become organized, and it's unhelpful for myself to try to do that. Thank God I have a team because they actually are the ones that keep me somewhat organized. And even then, I'm still like procrastinating on stuff that they ask for. And this is also why I was not a good W-2 employee, Amy. Like this right here is exactly why I was not a good employee.
You know, speaking of W-2s, I can relate because the 14 years I was in corporate America, I was never a manager of people, never. I was always just an individual contributor, problem solver, and that was it. So to look at how we've both transitioned into what we're doing now, it's crazy. And even thinking back to when you and I first met and we were chatting, by the way, you guys, Jesse and I have never met in person.
Yeah.
This is what happens, right? I feel like I honestly, when we got on here, I was like, you look just like my cousin. I don't even know if I've said that to you before.
You sent me a picture one time. You're like, doesn't this dude look exactly like? Oh my, looking twin. Yeah.
But remember when I was like, dude, you crushed it. How did you, achieve so much success in this one pillar of your business? And you were laughing. You're like, girl, I don't know. I just did it. I put my head down and I figured it out. And so many people look at us, other educators, other whatever gurus, and they just think we have it all figured out. You guys, we don't. We are still figuring this shit out just like you. But it's all about just like putting your head down, right? And you just do it. You figure it out. You figure out what you want to do. You're not going to have all the answers as you go. You just work backwards and you make it happen.
Yeah. But isn't it, Amy, like when you think about the person that you had to become to think like that, that's where most people are stuck. There's this gray area. And what I'm trying to say is, like, when I worked a W-2 job and I was living paycheck to paycheck, I was in what's that mode people talk about? It's survival mode, right? You're just like trying to get by. But then I audited myself, and maybe you did too, Amy, where you looked at your finances. I was spending money on dumb shit, like buying cars I didn't need to buy. And when you start to, like, okay, I'm going to go into the self-development, I'm going to use, 40% of my income is going to go aside and the other 60 is going to be used for the bills or whatever, whatnot. How do you get from that, like where you are now? Because yes, she's absolutely right. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right.
A lot of people are, and I'm super transparent about that because I feel like it's so refreshing to hear people like you and myself, especially as a newbie, when somebody's like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just trying to figure out, like, that is like, oh my God, I relate to that person. That's a real human right there. Um,
Right.
like that's such a relatable piece there. But how do we get from that mentality of like scarcity, from do I have the ability to do these things? I feel like I'm backed in a corner now because you were there, Amy, and now you're into a position now where it's totally different. You're still having to figure stuff out, but you got that kind of the framework or the pillars. But I feel like what most successful people have, it's like, there's a problem. I'm going to figure out how to solve it. I'm going to do what I can to figure this out. I'm going to continue to educate myself. How does somebody get out of that mindset?
Yeah, so what I'm about to say is not going to resonate with everyone. I used to be in that mindset because I didn't know how to deal with ambiguity. I didn't know who to ask questions, what types of questions to ask. So for me, what I found is, and this isn't true 100% of the time, you guys, but I'm a former athlete. I'm very competitive. So I just like, coach, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And I never knew what I was doing in real estate. I hired a coach, invested in mentorship. But that first step is what helped me squash all of that fear of the unknown. Because whether it's a coach, a mentor, you shadow someone, who cares? A friend who believes in what you're doing, as long as you have that, community or that go-to person, you're not going to feel alone. And if your circles have not, let's say you want to be a real estate investor, but you don't really know what you want to do yet. That's normal. You don't have to have the answers to that, but start immersing yourself into these types of environments, podcasts, webinars, live events. And what you will see happen, for better or for worse, is you are going to see your circles shift. You are going to lose your best friends. It's a part of the journey. It's a part of the process. You're going to make the most amazing new friends, business partners, entrepreneurial relationships moving forward. So for those of you who are listening and are like, oh my goodness, that's me. Yes, that's normal. That's going to keep happening. And if it hasn't, then start to question the circles you're in if you know that this is for you.
You're talking about self-awareness. I feel like most people don't even have that. Like they're not able to look at their friends and be like, yeah, Josh just drinks all day. And every time we hang out, it's like 8 hours and we're literally just sitting around watching football and drinking beer, which is what most dudes do. And society doesn't say that's bad.
Yes, I know. And again, we may or may not get criticized. I did all those things. I partied, I drank, I watched endless hours of TV. That's normal, you guys. That's fine. There's a lot of people who don't do those things. And I still drink, I still party. Everything's just balanced. And that's not fun for me anymore. So do that if you want, but watching 8 hours of Netflix is not going to allow me to do the things that I want to experience in life. So, and after I started seeing these amazing relationships that I'm making, yeah, the money that I'm making, being my own boss, being able to pick and choose who I want to work with, building my power team, that's more fun. Now, again, our brain never turns off, right? But we literally get to dictate what we do and don't want to do and who we want to spend time with. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and you said something that I really, really appreciate too, is like there becomes a point where like I remember I was probably about 27 when I realized like the people of my circle that I was hanging out with, all these dudes that were partying all the time and drinking beer, like I realized like I'm never gonna be able to get what I want to get out of life. Like, this is a circle that I have. And at 27, I'm saying that was like, and you see this, we go to these conferences and stuff where people are maybe in your program, they're like 21 or 19 or 20, and they already have this like vision that I didn't have at 27 that I wish I was able to adopt. And
Yeah.
you just said it now, like they're getting around these people that are thinking different. They still have their friends that are doing the same shit that they've always done, but they're recognizing early that like, if I want to create the life that I actually want to have, I need to be around people that are thinking different, that are putting themselves in positions to be better, that are putting themselves in positions that, yeah, partying is fun. I'm not gonna lie. Like I enjoy going out, having drinks and all that stuff, but it's not fun to wake up and feeling like less than the next day. I don't want to feel less than I did the day before. And there comes a point in your life where you're just like, it's the same party that you did the night before that.
Yeah. Agreed. And something, just came to mind, which it's really for anything in life. Like, dude, just be balanced, you guys. Like party, have drinks, go to events, and it's really hard, right? It's hard being balanced personally. It's hard being balanced professionally. But your story about when you were 27, I think you said. So for me, I didn't figure out what I wanted to do until I was 34, and that was real estate. But your story took me back to 2014 or 15. I was at a live event with one of my mentors in Vegas, and I met this guy who's now become a good friend of ours. You may know him, Austin Rutherford. He was 19 years old at the time, 19, came from nothing, used to park cars, valet, and we had the same mentor. And I remember in Vegas, and I also was up till 4:30 in the morning that night, and I was like, dude, let's go. We're gonna rage. He's like, no, I'm good. Austin is the perfect example of a student who literally did everything he was supposed to do. And before he was in his mid 20s, he became a multimillionaire. Like, it's insane when you look at his vision board on what he was dreaming about 10 years ago, and it literally aligns with his lifestyle right now. It's crazy. So, yes, if I would have been that disciplined or even known what I wanted at 19, dang, I wish I would have started sooner. I wasn't ready though.
Yeah. Here's a good concept on this too. I think even a lot of people, I still don't know exactly what I want. I have an understanding in a direction, but like if you were to say, what do you want right now today? Like I would be like, shh. Like it's hard for me to think like that. It's always been hard for me to think like that. And I think most people, it's hard for them to be like that. But you said this earlier on. It's like we just start to do it.
Yeah.
We have a general idea. And I feel like, and you probably had this, Amy, too, when you first started. The first thing that you want to do, like for me, it was like, I want to co-host people's properties. That ended up morphing into coaching, and it ended up morphing into co-hosting properties. And then, having my own portfolio, and like it ended up morphing into different things. But I feel like it's so important to first fix your circle, fix who you're taking information from, realizing and having that self-awareness. It's like the people that I'm around, even my family, might not be the best people for me to be around because I'm absorbing and agreeing with the things that they're saying that are negative. And this is something that's really powerful for me over the last several years, is like, if you start to think something, like you will only see that. If
Yeah.
people are negative, I'm only going to see negative in the world. It's like the same people that hate Airbnb owners. Like they're always going to hate people that have Airbnb, people that hate real estate. Like they're always going to be around. You're always going to have those in your family. You're going to have those as friends. You can't do it, dude. That's not possible. Like that's not for you. You've changed. Like all those things are there. But how do you, I think that's my biggest question. And we've already passed through that. I think it's almost like you have kids, right, Amy? You do. You
Yeah.
have, it's like, I always have this problem where how do I get back and think like my 12-year-old, like when I was 12? Because we already been there, we lived it, we already understood it, we think about things in a different way. But it's like, how do we go back to that 12-year-old mindset that we had at one certain time and think about how this kid thinks? And this is how we have to think about with like literally everything. Like, how do I go back to this original thought process? How do I go back to that feeling of when I was 27 and I left? What was actually the main issue there? And dissect those things. And that's when you can actually start to give people information that's useful when you put yourself back in that. Do you find yourself going back to your like previous versions of yourself ever?
I do when I take a step back and I'm like, girl, just chill. Like, you don't have to do 1,000 things right now. Over the last 2 years, I've done a really good job of getting laser focused on one initiative and moving away from the shiny object syndrome. So that was a huge step. And you said so many amazing things, specifically with family. I remember when I first got into the business. So I do think back to finish the answer to your question. Yes, I think back to when I was younger about just trying to simplify my life and trying not to come up with any hypothetical what if scenarios because we can all do that. And but I remember 10 years ago when I began investing in real estate as a part-time investor, I still had my full-time job at Dell. My family, a lot of my family members, and it was hard. My dad was one of them. They didn't support me. They thought I was crazy. They were scared. And so here I am all excited, working 70 hours a week in real estate and my corporate job. And I have all this negativity and criticism coming at me. So to your point, Jesse, I just stopped. I stopped talking to them about it, which unfortunately hurt my relationship with my dad. He would call me. I talked to my parents every day. If I didn't talk, they thought I was dead. So I'd talk to my dad and he'd say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I literally had nothing to say because all I wanted to do was talk about real estate and all he wanted to do was talk about my job at Dell. So for a good couple of years, and I write about this in my book, which nobody even knows I published because I never talk about it. But for 2 years, we didn't really say anything other than hi and I love you. So, and then he became my biggest cheerleader. However, just focus to your point on the positive vibes, the positive energy, people who support you. And you know, I still have many of my old girlfriends, not because I've known them for 20 years, but because I feel like they still serve a valuable purpose in my life. And I share that with you guys because as an adult, look, I'm 46. I don't need new friends. I don't even have time to hang out with the friends that I have, unfortunately. But yeah, whether it's in business or personally at age 46, and this doesn't matter at what age you're at, start to be selective with who you spend time with. And if they don't add value or serve a purpose to you personally or professionally, then question whether or not you have time for that person. Some of you don't want to hear that, but I'm sure those of you listening probably resonate with what we are talking to you about today.
Yeah, I remember when I left my W-2 job, and keep this in mind, I was making about 180,000 in the Central California area. I was working in healthcare sales, and my daughter at the time was probably about maybe 15. Grace calls my mom and says, "Abuela," right? Because I'm Hispanic, and says, "Grandma, my dad quit his job." My mom bawling on the phone. "Oh my God, you guys are going to be homeless." Like I get a call 2 minutes later. ¿Qué estás haciendo? Like this, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to your family? Like, you guys aren't going to do, like, this is the dumbest thing, because what I was taught and raised was that I have an immigrant mom, right? And my dad was born here in the US. Her mentality is like, and even my dad's is like, you just work, you work for a company, you work your way up. You do,
Right.
you don't try to get yourself uncomfortable. You definitely don't create something on your own. Like you just like work for other people. So they didn't understand that mentality, but I can't tell you guys how devastating it is to have your own mother, who's my best friend on the planet, call me crying after my daughter calls and says, like, the worst things are going to happen. And you have to believe in yourself and your ability. I think that's one of the big things, Amy, is like, I actually truly believed in myself, even really young in my life, like
Totally.
super young in my life. I don't even know where the hell I got. Actually, I do know where I got that from my mom. Like, I know for a fact that's where I got it from. That I had the ability, because she would tell me, like, you have the ability to do anything you want. Like you're born here in the US. Like you've already won the lottery like multiple different times. You just woke up today. God gave you another day of life. Like you are so lucky. And I sat there and I learned this later, like 350 trillion to one is the chances of being born a human. Like I could have been a shoe or something like an Adidas or a freaking Nike or something. Like, like I became human, thank God, right? And like I was born in the US. So that's another lottery winner there. So like things aren't really that bad, right? But also having your own mother say that this is devastating, like you're gonna be bankrupt and you're gonna lose your house, like that's a scary place to be.
Yeah. I don't know how to teach confidence. You and I, we were raised with confidence to be confident. I looked like a Mexican boy when I was 5 and I was still so confident. Like I had one eyebrow, a bowl cut. It was weird. But thanks to my mom, I think a lot of our moms are like that. Now as a professional, like if I think about confidence, it's just preparing yourself through knowledge and education. You guys go out there and just find people who are in your shoes and just mirror what they are doing. There's nothing wrong with going to like Bigger Pockets University, YouTube University. There's so much content out there. My one piece of advice would be, if you think you know what you want to focus on in real estate, for example, maybe just find and follow one voice. Otherwise, you're going to be marching in circles, listening to all these different educators and what their theories and process is. But through that knowledge and education, you'll continue to grow confidence.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's educating yourself. I think failing is another confidence builder. It is for me. Like I know that I failed a lot learning, trying new things. I mean, I do this still today, this day. I posted online. I got a bunch of weird flack about it. I posted my 2024 failures on Instagram. Like I didn't, how everybody's posting like 2024 was great. I went and bought a 20 boutique hotels. Like all of our friends are doing that, right? 20 boutique hotels. I made 7.9 million, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, here's my failures for the year. And I got all these messages from people that are like, I'm so sorry. I hope everything's okay. Like, I wish things were better for you. And I'm just sitting there thinking like, this is not a negative thing for me. This is me like reframing and understanding where my 2024 went wrong. And
Yeah,
that's a really good indicator to me that most people don't actually look at failures as being positive. And I think
totally.
those are the most relatable things I think with people is the failures. And the fact that I got these messages saying, I hope you're okay. Everything's good. Maybe they just didn't understand the context or maybe I just wasn't a good writer on that end, but it was really a kind of an eye opener for me to take that away.
You have a very compassionate audience.
I know it sounds like, right? They're like, let me coddle you and make sure that you're okay.
No,
But yeah,
but you're right. And we all hear this. It's a part of the journey, right? And it makes us that much stronger. It makes us who we are today. And unfortunately, going through some of the tough times that I've experienced in the past has actually made me less compassionate for those who are going through something similar because I know they can overcome it. But man, yeah, like it sucks, you guys. Like you're gonna in any business, you're gonna make money and lose money, right? But it's like how you navigate through the tough times that will define us. So, and I'm sure both of us, Jesse, will come across more tough times in the future. So, but I think it helps establish like a strong foundation for you personally and professionally, and they're growing pains.
yeah. So like you just talked about your growing pain for this year. You have that notepad and all that stuff. You're day 9 into that. What do you feel like this year is like something else you're focusing on, like growth? And then we'll get into the whole private money stuff and which I'm fascinated by the way.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So my word, which I'm not that type of person that I don't have a word of the year, but my word of the year for the first time ever, I guess. You heard it here first, folks. Is it's efficiency. It's nothing fancy, but just being more efficient. Really with my time. I'm really efficient actually in my business. I'm very streamlined. So in addition to that, it's actually a personal goal, which is being more present. Not with my family. I've done a good job last year. I did a really good job of being present with my daughter because really my job, right, was always number one. And I love my family. So last year I focused on being a more present mom. This year it's being a more present wife. I joke, but it's not really a joke. Like I really want to first phase one is be present, be a normal wife. And then I'd love to be an exceptional wife, but that's important to me. Like what are we doing and making all this money for if we can't enjoy it with our family? And Sean, my husband, over the last few weeks, he's really helped. And he's the total opposite of me. He's so positive. Just have faith if you think it will. And the other day, he's like, just chill. We need to schedule 4 family vacations right now for this year. So we did that because I always wait to the last minute for everything. And so um, half of it's being more efficient in my business. The other half is being more present with my husband. And it's just a personal goal.
Yeah. And you brought something up that I've struggled with, like and this is a lot of entrepreneurs do this too. And I'm glad you recognize this early, or maybe it wasn't early. I mean, I'll have to ask you about this, but like, I've had my head in the sand, like trying to build these businesses for since 2020. And I feel like 2022, I started to get so involved in it that I actually thought with like being present. Like I would literally be sitting with my family and like we'd all be in the spot and I'd be like checking a note that I got through Slack. I'm not actually there. I'm not there. And like I recognize that. And the crazy thing is that the older you get, especially if you have kids, I'm 42 now. So you and I are in our 40s already. The older you get, the faster time goes. The sooner that you have kids, you'll realize how fast time goes even more than that. And the second that you add a business on top of that, and then husband, wife duties, all that stuff, like time, it just becomes, it's not forgiving. And
Yeah.
it's like 5 years go by. And I look at this like from 2020 to now, like 5 years went by like this, Amy. And half of that, I was asleep because I was like up. But here's the crazy part. I was asleep but awake building this like multi-million-dollar business. But you said something now that's so powerful and important. I hope everybody heard this. Money and stuff's cool. Like don't get me wrong, like it's great. But like what actually really matters, you're not going to take money with you when you go from this planet, right? Like you're not going to be able to take that with you. And the time, the memories, all those things are most important. Like those are actually what's valuable. And um, so from someone that doesn't come from money like myself, like I always thought money was going to cure everything. And I remember the first time I made $100,000 a month, I'm just like, I was actually a little bit sad, Amy, because I thought it was going to fix everything that I just talked about right now. And it didn't do that. And you hear this from people that are like rich or make money all the time. They're just like, money doesn't matter. And like we talked about the starvation mode earlier, right? When we're starving for trying to get our paychecks to work, like it's exact opposite, which is also why I said, do you ever go back and think about yourself in those times? And I think what I'm trying to say right now is like, it's so important that you're understanding and realizing and being self-aware enough to see that you are like limiting yourself with your family in certain areas, but you're also pushing yourself in these other areas. And you and I have been around these super high performer people. Like I'm in GoBundance, this group, and the 4 pillars are family, your business. It's not just money, right? It's like these multiple different pillars, your friendships, your vacations that you just talked about, bucket list things, like stuff that you get so wrapped up in business that you forget about. And for me, I think it's really cool to hear you and hear people say like, I was that and I'm like now trying to find a balance. I don't think there is a balance with business. And I would love to debate you on that because I don't actually know if there is. I would like to think that there is. I just don't know. I haven't been able to find that yet. And I haven't been able to find anybody besides you, Amy, right now that's trying to find.
So, so I don't think we'll ever be able to turn our brains off. I just, it won't happen as business owners. I don't believe that. And if you are out there listening and you're a business owner who can compartmentalize and turn your brain off, please let us know what you do. However, what I have been able to do, and this just started last year, I had to force myself, but like I'm not working. I only work between 9 and 2:30. That's it. Like I'm in the office. So I put my phone away. I don't respond to stuff. So in that sense, I'm able to separate work from business. But that, because I was like you, I started investing in real estate 10 years ago, but I started my coaching program 4 years ago in 2020. And my daughter had just been born. So, and I wanted to have positive customer service and respond to every message. So I was constantly on my phone. But I think just being able to set some boundaries, like I recently started leaving my phone in the kitchen when I go to bed, so I'm not on there at night. That's the only type of separation I've been able to establish so far. Because I think as business owners, we're always going to have new ideas, always going to meet new people, want to collab on stuff. I don't think that's ever going to stop, but being able to shift our focus, I think, out of work mode is doable.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I totally, I think it makes a lot of sense. And the reason why I wanted to spend this first, I was only thinking about 10 minutes, but here we are with like honest conversation halfway through the podcast. But I think this stuff right here is the real stuff that a lot of people don't necessarily always talk about. And it's also one of the pieces of the puzzle where, again, going back to our former selves, the person that we were that needed to become the person that we are now, like we have to shed these previous versions of ourselves. I didn't really think about that over the years up until probably last year. Like you have to like I hate going on stages. Like Amy, I hate that. I have a summit. I freaking hate being on a stage. It's not fun to me. I hate
That's
getting
funny.
in a plane. I do it anyway. I don't like all those things, but like you have to get uncomfortable doing things that you don't like to do. And like I recognize I got to get in front of people. It doesn't matter. Like I'm an introvert by nature. That's my
Interesting.
yeah. So it's like you have to get out of these comfort things. And for me, it's like my word for the year is uncomfortable. Like I'm doing all the things that I freaking despise doing because I have to, and because I don't want to be honest with you. So that makes me feel like if I don't want to do it, then I should probably be doing it. And that's exactly how I got in this position now, because I remember, and maybe you can attest to this too. I mean, when I first started putting out midterm rental stuff, I was like scared that somebody was going to take my ideas. And then I was scared that if I went on somebody's podcast and I told them exactly how to do things, that I wouldn't be around anymore. And after the year, I remember there's a dude named Noble Crawford. You're going to meet him at the summit this year when you speak. By the way, that's April 27th through 29th in San Diego. Amy's going to be there talking about private money. So if you guys, tickets are down below. I was talking to Noble, and he was telling me about how he doesn't like doing all these things either, but he had to put himself in a position to like get in front of an audience, and he had this podcast, and I went in there, and I was just like, I'm gonna just say everything that I do, and if people copy this or do it, whatever. And I remember talking to him about it, and actually telling him, he's like, you need to stop thinking that way. Like you need to be really thoughtful on this, and not everybody's gonna be able to do what you do. Literally the next week, I got in bigger pockets, and I just laid out my entire everything that I did. Like, here's how to go build the contractors who you're going to talk to. You're going to go on LinkedIn. Here's the messages you're going to send. By giving away that free information, like shifting that like scarcity in my brain, these people are going to copy me. They're going to take my stuff. I'm not going to be able to grow. By giving is like what actually attracted those people to me, which allowed me to grow this audience, is just literally giving them details to allow them to build a business without paying for a course and without all that stuff. And that was scary for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. We're the same person. I thought like that, or I worried about it, and some of our, mutual friends would say, and they do this, like, just give it away. But I was so like, I don't worried that people would steal it. Actually, some have, and that's whatever. Their prerogative, I guess. Whatever. But I agree with you. I haven't put out, okay, here's another weakness of mine. I'm so lazy. So I've decided mentally I have a lot more content I'm going to put out there in much more detail. Because right now, everyone who's heard me speak, it's like you can download my 4 second power pitch, you can download my private money pitch deck. I'm always talking about that stuff, different scripts, but just providing more detail. And like instead of steps 1 through 5, here are steps 5 through 15. I plan to do that. I just need to do it. And lately now, because I've committed to doing that, that's all I hear. You're saying it. I'm listening to one of Alex Hormozzi's books. He's saying it. Some of our other friends are constantly doing it. So I'm like, it's on my list of things to do. But it's crazy how when you're so mindful of something that's all you hear and focus on.
I know. Yeah, I know. I know. And then I had another colleague. This is another story I want to talk to you about. I was always scared to sell on stage. I've been in sales for freaking 20 years,
Yeah,
24.
it still makes me nervous. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I was like, I was in, Henry Washington. Yeah, I think he's
Yeah.
gonna be of ours. Okay, cool. He was at the summit last year, and we were in an elevator going down. We were on the same floor, and I was talking to him, and I was just like super, like, I'm honest about stuff. I'm just like, man, I'm like really nervous to sell on stage. I never actually really did it before. Um, and he looked at me, and he hit the, have you ever stopped a freaking elevator halfway between floors?
No.
Here's what he does. Like, if you guys are watching this, check this out. He looks at me like this, Amy, and he's like, he hits this button. It's like freaking going off. And he leans into me like this, and he's like, do you have something that's valuable that other people would need? And I was like scared. I was like, yeah, because he was really close to my face, and I get uncomfortable when dudes get close to me like that. And he's like, why would you're doing yourself a disservice by not selling what you have that can help people change their lives on stage. And then by the way, as he was telling me this, there was this annoying bell going off super loud. He was right in my ear. And then leans back over, hits the button again. We don't say anything. Doors open. I walk out. He walks out. He's like, see you on stage. And that was it. And that one conversation right there changed the way that I looked at because he was absolutely right. Like, I have something that I know is powerful. If somebody comes in and follows the steps, like, they're going to be able to build themselves and their family or whoever, like, an actual life. If you guys are interested in learning all about midterm rentals, I have the biggest event that's actually happening this year on April 27th through April 29th in San Diego, California. There's going to be over 700 real estate investors and people that are wanting to grow midterm rental businesses. You're going to definitely want to attend this event because we have Dan Martell who's going to be headlining this event. And one of my favorite things about this, if you're involved in the midterm rental space, you want to make sure that you're connecting with other like-minded investors. And that is exactly what you're going to get at this event. So I'd encourage you to buy tickets. There is a sale right now on all the tickets and you don't want the prices to go up. There's an early bird special. Get out there, buy these tickets. I hope to see you in sunny San Diego. Trust me, you will love this. It's definitely the place to be if you want to grow, understand the insights in these markets, and be around like-minded people. You can also head over to midtermrentalsummit.com for more information on this specific event. Link is in the bio. It took a dude that I met one time in person to stop the freaking elevator on the 3rd floor between the 2nd floor with the alarm buzzing, leaning into my ear, telling me that to make me realize, like, I probably need to be doing this. And this is what I mean by having the right friends in the right places at the right times. Like, my other friends wouldn't have said anything like that.
No, totally. And also, but I can also resonate and with what you're saying because I used to feel the same way. My husband is a sales trainer, so he was like my Henry Washington. And the thing is, like, I just like you, like, I am so confident in what I teach. I have changed people's lives, which sounds crazy to hear. No one teaches what I teach. It is one of the most valuable skill sets, knowing how to solve the money problem in real estate. And what makes it natural for me to sell is that I really believe in it. Like, it's not something I'm just trying to sell to make another dollar. And that's the difference, right? Like, people can see if you're genuine and you're authentic and passionate, but also if the shit really works. And so when you know that, I mean, you could triple your prices and probably still sell it because you have a proven system and you have results. But have you read Alex Hormozy's book, $100 million Offers?
I have not. I need
Download the Audible. I'm not a reader. I do Audible. So what we're talking about right now, he talks about in his book. And then it's pretty cool because he's like us. He's like, just do what I say. Just do what I say. If you have this product that solves a problem and you believe in it, like in the book, he actually has you take action. And it may be, I'm just like listening to it right now to give me some new ideas on stuff I want to put out there. So you may want to check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I like one of the things that he talks about, and it's just like give, 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 give,
Yes.
give, ask. And like, that's exactly what we were just talking about. Like, what I didn't want to do, right, was like, I'm too scared. Everybody's going to take my stuff. I'm going on the biggest podcast on the planet. Did I just say podcast? Podcast on the planet. And freaking telling everybody exactly how to do stuff. But that right there is what people love. They love to be able to get actionable insight from somebody on a niche on or something that's actually going to be able to move the needle for them. Because not everybody's going to want to pay to go into a class. People are like, I learned on YouTube. Everybody lives on YouTube. But then again, I think there's a different level where like you and I have been able to build these communities for people. And then that's where, you care about your community. Like I care about my community, like
Right.
tremendous enough where like somebody will message me and I want to message them back right away, even if I'm with my,
Right.
I have to learn how to put that away. People feel that like they can be in your presence and know that you're not just some full of shit, fly by the night guy trying to make something happen. Like you actually will show up for them in ways that nobody in their lives ever showed up for them before.
Totally. And I like that's what sets you apart.
Yeah, and not only that, but like the feeling of having somebody believe in you is such a powerful thing. I remember when I had somebody believe in me. Maybe you can talk about this for yourself. I had a contractor, Amy. I was talking about what I was doing. This was probably 2019. I was super freaking like just like I was excited about it. And this contractor that has like all these homes, like lives in this multi-million-dollar home in the central California, and is like doing all these things. Like he took interest in me. It was like that moment right there. I was like, I know that I'm doing something worthwhile. This dude's actually started paying attention to me. He didn't tell me he believed in me, but I felt what he was doing. I felt that he's like, to bring me in. He was trying to like show me his properties. Like he saw what I was doing. He wanted to learn it so he can go copy it. I could tell that's what he was trying to do. But I just gave into it anyway. It's like what you learn, it's like it's your own individual way of doing things that not everybody can do unless they're like actually taught and managed and, through the whole process. But that one person that believed in me when everybody else didn't was really a pivotal moment for me because it was an outside person that I saw had success, but was starting to believe in the abilities that I had and wanted to bring me under their wing. Even though it wasn't for the best interests of myself, I still did that because I needed to have somebody that believed in me. That wasn't my family. My family was all like, "You're freaking nuts. Who's going to want to rent a
Yeah,
house?"
same.
So
Well, my very first real estate coach, was like that with me. And so that helped me keep that momentum going. But I think it was easy because she came from a place of coaching and mentorship. Now she was giving back by being, my coach and mentor. And she was already where I wanted to be. So like she knew what I didn't know, right? But I was so like once I commit to doing something, whether it's on my own or someone else, we talked about like you just figure it out. I was very coachable. I'm like, girl, just tell me what to do. What are the first three steps? I did not seek to understand. I didn't, for the first 8 months of my career, I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. I just did what my coach told me to do. And it wasn't until month 8 that I woke up. I vividly remember this. I was living in Chicago and I woke up and I was like, oh, now it all makes sense, but like just trust in the system, in the person, and just do it and it will come together. You are not going to have all the answers as you go.
yeah, yeah, I totally agree to that. Even people that you think have all the answers don't.
They
Uh,
don't know.
I want to lead into this now. Like this is a really good. I really enjoyed that discussion. And I think the audience is really going to resonate with that because I was like a lot of the growing through things and trying to figure stuff out. And you said something earlier that I think is so powerful. Private money, I believe, is like everybody's hurdle in any business. It doesn't have to be real estate. Is like financial restraints, right? Capital restraints. And you've been able to uncover and find this really detailed way on how you can actually get people to trust you and how you can get people to loan you money, even when you haven't had your first deal yet, even. So can you walk us through what private money actually is and maybe how you found it and how it became a thing for you so that, again, we can have these more relatable stories where the people that we were, that we had to be, right? We had to shed that person. What was
Yeah.
a finance deal? What did that look like? And what were like the difficulties that you understood later?
So this is where I did not realize we all have our strengths and weaknesses. I did not realize that naturally, I was just really good at networking, at building genuine relationships. And it took me until I was 40 to discover that that came from my upbringing. I was raised in this very diverse, obnoxious family. So I had to learn at a very young age, starting at age 5, how to manage multiple relationships. I didn't realize that till I was 40 years old. So even when I worked at Dell, I was so good at problem solving because I was able to get people inside of the company. Like I was outsourcing and I didn't have I was just getting people who liked me to like automate reports and stuff for me. And so I didn't know I was good at raising money. It just happened. However, the biggest mistake that new or experienced investors make is they data dump. They're desperate because they have a deal that's about to close, or they come at you with too much information. So the foundation of successfully raising capital, it is networking, right? Being able to build rapport and trust, whether it's in your inner circle or complete stranger. So there is a strategy. You want to drop bits and pieces of who you are, what you're doing, different credibility pieces, controls you put into place, such as your buying criteria, your target market, your deal analyzer, so on and so forth, at a certain time and place. So step one, and I'm not going to go through the script. Everyone can just download it from my website. But step one is just planting seeds. Just own it. Understand that you are going to start raising private money. And every time you leave your house, whenever people ask you what you do for a living, tell them what you do, but end it with my 4-second power pitch. You can download that on my website. It's just, I show people how to earn double-digit returns backed by real estate. But who are these private money lenders? It's literally anyone and everyone you encounter the minute you leave your house. It doesn't have to be friends and family. Most people say raising money is easy. Just go ask your friends and family. What if you don't want to? What if, like Jesse, they think we're crazy? What if they are not in a position to invest, right? So don't think about banks, hard money lenders, or a broker, but it's anyone and everyone else. Anyone and everyone else.
So you're saying screw getting a loan from the bank, screw even thinking about a hard money lender. Who can I connect with in my circle that has money that I may be able to drop in who I am, what I do, what I'm about, and maybe what the deal is, but very bite-sized chunks rather than
Like step one is just I'm a real estate investor and we're currently on target to complete 3 transactions. Maybe you don't want to flip, 3 transactions over the next 12 months. And our investors love it because they get to kick back and relax while we do all the work. And they earn double digits backed by real estate. What was it that you say you do again? It's so nice to meet you. So that's step one, right? But not necessarily screw to the hard money lenders listening. We love you guys. We work with hard money. I love hard money. I'm just showing people, hey, for now, regardless of what your deal is, your investment strategy, we need money. So yeah, combine hard money with private money because even if you work with hard money and they give you the max leverage, there's still that difference, right? That gap funding. Why come out of pocket when you can just raise it from your mailman, from somebody at church, from a random you met at a bar and a restaurant? Now you're not going to turn a stranger into giving you 100,000 tomorrow, but if you say the right things and you know how to answer the hard questions, they can in 3 to 4 weeks become somebody you built that relationship with. So, but it's like slowly, it's every couple of days you're having a 15 to 20 minute conversation. Today I'm going to answer these questions for you. Tomorrow I'm going to show you the benefits of lending to me. The day after I'll introduce you to my team. Then on meeting number 4, I will share a high level overview of a previous deal. So even now I still get people who message me a 15-page pro forma. I don't even know who you are. Like, no, I'm not going to lend you money. Even if you were like, let's do a deal together and I know you, but you just sent me 15 pages. I'm like, Jesse, I still don't know your target market. I don't know who your team is comprised of. I don't know your track record. Right. So we have to have these conversations and they cannot be barfed on at a bar or a restaurant the first time you meet someone.
Yeah. What if it's your first deal and you're like, I think this is perfect segue into this because everything we talked about earlier from the first 40 minutes of this episode, we talked about mindset and what it takes and like shedding our old selves and looking at these things. When you are not a real estate investor yet, the only things stopping you from actually believing that you are a real estate investor without any properties is like up here. It's between your
Yes,
ear.
exactly.
So how would somebody today, and this is where I really want to go with that, is if somebody today was to come in and say exactly what we talked about in the first part, the scarcity mindset, the ability to like, do I know how to do this? I'm going to call myself a real estate investor. I don't even own any property yet. And I wanted to raise money privately because I'm working a W-2 job. I'm barely getting by on my W-2 job, but this is something that I want to do. What would be your framework for that person to switch from the way they are now? And then like the first deal flow, you just talked about like going out and connecting with people. You talked about 3 deals already. Like, what if this is the first one?
Yeah. If you don't have the right mindset, it's it's not going to work. So I understand you want to be a real estate investor. Are you a real estate investor or not? Like make the decision, and say it with conviction. It doesn't matter if you have experience. It doesn't matter if you have a team. What does matter and what's going to give you the confidence as a brand new part-time real estate investor is knowing why. Why are you doing this? How do you analyze deals? Because before you start raising money, you better know how to analyze a deal. What is your buying criteria? Who are the local experts that you're going to be working with when you do have a deal under contract? Right? So, what's going to happen if I lend you money and you pass away? Or what contracts will you use? So, it's the knowledge and education that's going to give you the confidence to shift your mindset to understand why are we doing this. This is all a part of building your foundation. Once you understand why you're doing this and you really believe in it, then start dropping the 4-second power pitch, start planting seeds, and slowly start educating people on what you're going to do when you have a deal. Where does the money go? They're going to wire it to your bank account or to title, right? So these are all things you have to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I think again, most people don't realize like you can just in your mind start to make this make sense, even though you have no property, maybe your financial things aren't there. But this is where it's like, it doesn't cost any money for you to go out and start connecting with people, start knowing who the players are in your market. And you said something that I feel like is the most important. If you don't know how to run a freaking deal, Amy, if you don't know how to run what's a good deal and what's a bad deal, and you don't know how to put that together yet,
Right.
with you being a solid investor and even raising money from people, I mean, that almost goes down to zero, the
Correct.
likelihood of.
Do you know how many people have messaged me saying, I can buy this house for 200, put in 50 and sell it for 350. Is this a deal? I don't know. What about every single other cost variable that's missing from your equation? Like you have to be an open book. You have to show your prospective lender every single cost variable, what your projected net profit is, what's going to happen if you sell the property for less, what's going to happen if you lose. Are you going to personally guarantee the loan? What does that mean? Because legally we can't guarantee anything, right? But all this stuff I'm saying, you guys, it's educating yourself and equipping yourself with information to be able to answer those hard questions.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I've kind of framed this thing like what you're talking about right now. It's called the CREM method: community, relationship, education, and mentorship. I feel like that's how people that I've seen be able to build careers for themselves, or join a program or whatever. Programs all have those things in them: community, right? Resources, education, mentorship. How you learn how to run numbers on something? How you going to learn how to do, like, you have to be part of something. I feel like that. I think it's the easiest way. Like, I would love to come into a program where I steal Amy's 10,000 hours. Amy spent 10,000 hours building something. Like, how cool that I can go in there and in 6 months and 3 months, I can get her framework, understand exactly what a deal looks like, understand what the potentials are in there for it not to be a good deal, start to understand how to communicate with people, and actually start to put that framework together again, which is the community, resources, education, and mentorship. Those four things right there are the pillars for any person to be successful, I feel, for me. And I honestly believe that too. It's like, you got to learn stuff. I mean, how am I going to be able to do anything if I don't know how to run numbers?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a huge part of not just our confidence, but we owe it to them, right? To be able to know where their money is going.
Yeah. So I want to ask you this then, on the overcoming fear part of it, what are the best ways you feel like, I mean, we talked about building confidence, understanding that. Let's talk about the misconceptions of private money then. If we're looking at, like, I know a lot of people think that private money is like hard to get, or what are some of the myths that you hear out there?
Yeah. No one's going to lend me money because I don't have experience. That doesn't matter. We just
Mhm.
talked about that. What matters is your ability to analyze these deals and build a team. I don't have any rich friends and family member. Then stop thinking about friends and family. Go talk to your neighbor. Go talk to your Uber driver. I don't have good credit. Your credit has nothing to do with any part of being successful in real estate. Or I don't have the time. Yes, you do. That's an excuse. You have the time because all I'm going to show you is how you can integrate and weave these creative networking strategies into your day to day lifestyle. I'm not having you cold call. You're not buying a list. You're not sending out direct mail. You're not sitting behind your computer. It's shifting the words that are coming out of your mouth and sometimes changing where you're going on a daily basis. Those are a lot of common ones. I don't have the time. I don't have rich friends and family members. Oh, I have to have skin in the game. They're not going to lend me money because I don't have skin in the game. That just means you're talking to a hard money lender or a broker or a bank. That just means they're not going to give you 100%. So make sure they understand that, okay, that gap funding, that difference will come in the form of private money. That's all.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. So, what are three things that people could do today, Amy, other than what you just mentioned earlier, going to family, connecting with people that are outside that, learning how to run deals? What are three steps besides those that somebody could do like today to start to make, moves in themselves? We talk about running numbers too. Like, you got to do that, right? You got to understand that. What are those? What do you think those three steps would be?
So number one would be understanding, why are you raising private money? So it's not to put Jesse's money at risk and protect your own. So understand, do research, go to Google, go to YouTube, go to Bigger Pockets. Why are you raising private money? Understand it. Number two, what's in it for them? Understand, and this will give you confidence. Why should somebody park their hard earned dollars with you and not the bank and not the stock market? Number two. And number three is, you don't have to know what your strategy is. That's okay. If you want to take my 4 second power pitch, just use that to start planting seeds. You're not going to have all the answers for later. All you're doing right now is just announcing to the world that you're a real estate investor and you offer people double-digit returns backed by real estate. It doesn't mean you have to call them tomorrow, but we're going to start to plant that seed and gather leads. Just do those 3 things for now. And there's a ton more on Bigger Pockets or my Instagram. You can go out there and read. But that's going to be a great start.
Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, the running a numbers part's going to be, I mean, I would be running deals every single day, like hundreds of them, like in a week, just to see what works. Like that's what it takes to be really good at this, right? Amy, like you just have to put in that work. Amy, I appreciate you so much for being here. This has been awesome. I really think it's so important that, people understand that not everybody has everything figured out. And there's a lot of steps that you have to actually take to build a successful real estate career. Private money is something that's important. We probably need to have you back where we just literally talk about private money. But people can go check you out because you got a ton of free stuff that you give out on a regular basis. Your Instagram is awesome. Where can people find you at, Amy?
Just check it out. Reach out to me on Instagram. I manage everything. I respond to everything. I always say, just don't be weird, at Amy Mahjoory. And I'm here to help however I can. Thank you so much.
Awesome. I love it. Amy, thank you so much for being here. And hopefully you guys go check out Amy on her pages. Thanks so much, Amy.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you for listening to the JV podcast. I'm Jesse Vasquez, your host. I appreciate you for listening. And if you could do me a huge solid, go like and subscribe to this. This helps us tremendously. And as always, thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful rest of your day.